Question. We have a question from our audience, sir.
Hi, my name's Kent Taylor from Wickenburg, Arizona, and my question to all the candidates is, how do you plan on dealing with the growing nuclear threat in Iran?
It's a pressing question at the moment. Mr. Speaker, let's go to you first on this, and I want to ask you in the context of the president's and this country's highest-ranking military officer, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dempsey, told CNN this last week, quote, "A strike at this time would be destabilizing and would not achieve Israel's long-term objectives." If you win this election, General Dempsey would then be your chairman of the Joint Chiefs. If the Prime Minister of Israel called you, said he wanted to go forward and questioned, sir, do you agree, Mr. President, do you agree with your chairman of the Joint Chiefs? Would you say, yes, Mr. Prime Minister, please stand down? Or would you give Israel the green light?
Well, first of all, this is two different questions. General Dempsey went on to say he thought that Iran was a rational actor. I can't imagine why he would say that. And I just cannot imagine why he would have said it. The fact is, this is a dictator, Ahmadinejad, who has said he doesn't believe the Holocaust existed. This is a dictator who said he wants to eliminate Israel from the face of the earth. This is a dictator who said he wants to drive the United States out of the Middle East. I'm inclined to believe dictators. Now, I think that it's dangerous not to. If an Israeli prime minister, haunted by the history of the Holocaust, recognizing that 3 nuclear weapons is a Holocaust in Israel, if an Israeli prime minister calls me and says, I believe in the defense of my country, this goes back to a point that Congressman Paul raised that we probably disagree on. I do believe there are moments when you preempt. If you think a madman is about to have nuclear weapons and you think that madman is going to use those nuclear weapons, then you have an absolute moral obligation to defend the lives of your people by eliminating the capacity to get nuclear weapons.
The American people often don't pay much attention to what's going on in the world until they have to. But this is an issue, this confrontation with Iran, that is partly responsible for what we have seen daily at the gas pump. Prices going up and going up and going up. So I want Governor Brown to come into the conversation. We'll continue it with everyone at the table. As we have this showdown, confrontation, call it what you will, with Iran, should our leadership, including the current President of the United States and the 4 gentlemen here with me tonight, be prepared to look the American people in the eye and say, and I want to hear everybody's plans. Over the long run, I think I can bring down the price of gasoline. Or I can't, if that's your plan. But at the moment, we need to have a conversation about how, as long as this continues, the prices are likely to keep going up.
Look, the price of gasoline pales in comparison to the idea of Ahmadinejad with nuclear weapons. Ahmadinejad having fissile material that he can give to Hezbollah and Hamas and that they can bring into Latin America and potentially bring across the border into the United States to let off dirty bombs here. I mean, or more sophisticated bombs here. We simply cannot allow Iran to have nuclear weaponry. And this president has a lot of failures. It's hard to think of economically his failures, his policies on a whole host of areas have been troubling. But nothing, in my view, is as serious a failure as his failure to deal with Iran appropriately. This president should have put in place crippling sanctions against Iran. He did not. He decided to give Russia their #1 foreign policy objective, removal of our missile defense sites from Eastern Europe, and got nothing in return. He could have gotten crippling sanctions against Iran. He did not. When dissident voices took to the street in Iran to protest a stolen election there, instead of standing with them, he bowed to the election. This is a president who has made it clear through his administration and almost every communication we've had so far that he does not want Israel to take action, that he opposes military action. This is a president who should have instead communicated to Iran that we are prepared, that we are considering military options. They're not just on the table, they are in our hand. We must not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the world changes, America will be at risk, and someday nuclear weaponry will be used. If I'm president, that will not happen. If we re-elect Barack Obama, it will happen.
Senator Santorum, please.
I agree with Governor Romney's comment. I think they're absolutely right on and well spoken. I would say that if you're looking for a president to be elected in this country that will send that very clear message to Iran as to the seriousness of the American public to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, there'd be no better candidate than me, because I have been on the trail of Iran and trying to advocate for stopping them getting a nuclear weapon for about 8 years now. was the author of a bill back in 2008 that talked about sanctions on a nuclear program that our intelligence community said didn't exist, and had the President of the United States, President Bush, oppose me for 2 years. And by the way, so did Joe Biden on the floor of the Senate, and Barack Obama. I always say, if you want to know what foreign policy position to take, find out what Joe Biden's position is and take the opposite opinion. And you'll be right 100% of the time. But they opposed me. He actively opposed me. We did pass that bill eventually at the end of 2006, and it was to fund the pro-democracy movement, $100 million a year. Here's what I said. We need to get these pro-American Iranians who are there, who want freedom, want democracy, and want somebody to help them and support them. Well, we put some money out there, and guess what? Barack Obama cut it when he became into office. And when the Green Revolution rose, the pro-democracy rose, we had nothing. We had no connection, no correlation, and we did absolutely nothing to help them. In the meantime, when the radicals in Egypt and the radicals in Libya, the Muslim Brotherhood, when they rise against either a feckless leader or a friend of ours in Egypt, the president is more than happy to help them out. When they're going up against a dangerous, theocratic regime that wants to wipe out the state of Israel, that wants to dominate the radical Islamic world and take on the great Satan, the United States, we do nothing. That is a president that must go, and you want a leader who will take them on, I'll do that.
Congressman Paul, all three of your rivals here make a passionate case. All three of them make a passionate case that this is a vital U.S. national security interest. But you disagree.
I disagree because we don't know if they have a weapon. Matter of fact, there's no evidence that they have it. There is no evidence. Israel claims they do not have it, and our government doesn't. I don't want them to get a weapon, but I think what we're doing is encouraging them to have a weapon because they feel threatened. If you look at a map of Iran, we have 45 bases around their country plus our submarines. The Iranians can't possibly attack anybody, and we're worrying about the possibility of one nuclear weapon. Now, just think about the Cold War. The Soviets had 30,000 of them, and we talked to them. The Soviets killed 100 million people, and the Chinese, and we worked our way out of it. And if you want to worry about nuclear weapons, worry about the nuclear weapons that were left over from the Soviet Union. They're still floating around. They don't have them all detailed. So we're ready to go to war. I say going to war rapidly like this is risky and it's reckless. Now, if they're so determined to go to war, the only thing I plead with you for, if this is the case, is do it properly. Ask the people and ask the Congress for a declaration of war. This is war, and people are going to die, and you got to get a declaration of war. And just to go and start fighting. But the sanctions are already backfiring, and all that we do is literally doing the opposite. When we're attacked, we all came together. When we attack when we put them under attack, they give together, and it neutralizes that. They rally around their leaders. So what we're doing is literally enhancing the power. Think of the sanctions that we dealt with Castro. 50 years and Castro is still there. It doesn't work. So I would say a different approach. We need to, at least, we talked to the Soviets during the Cuban crisis. We at least can talk to somebody who we do not have